Welcome to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin. I believe every man has the potential to push past his limits and strive for something greater. Whether you're a former athlete who is looking for what's next, a professional pushing through the daily grind, or someone simply ready to break through life's toughest challenges, if you're ready to step into the pursuit of something more, your pursuit begins now. All right, welcome back to Men Pursuing More podcast. I'm your host, Roger Maupin. I want to welcome Ben Muresan to the podcast. Some people might know him as Ben Humble on social media. And Ben, let's jump right into your story. So can you tell us about your experience growing up I know you grew up, I believe, in Romania, and just share us eventually making your way to Canada and some of the kind of challenges and some of the successes along your journey.
Yeah, so I was born in 85 in Romania during a period of communism, and my parents being very faithful parents, they wanted to worship God. They wanted to have freedom for their children. They wanted to have lots of opportunity for the next generation. And so they've realized that in the middle of communism, there's no freedom of religion, freedom of speech. And so they had to make a difficult choice, which was to flee, to run away. And so at 4 years old, my dad grabs me by the hand. He's got 5 children at the time. And he grabs me, my sister. My mom grabs another sister. And he had to leave 2 kids behind at that time, just couldn't physically carry them. So he left the 2 most independent kids behind and grabs us and runs across the border. So about 2 days later, we land up in a refugee camp in Austria. So we had spent, that was about September of 89. In December of 89, Christmas Day, Romanians executed their president on live television. They're overthrew the government on Christmas Day, actually. And so we were in this refugee camp. A few months later, the president gets executed, and then my brother and sister are brought from Romania. So that's how life starts. It starts with running towards what God's calling you to do, running towards freedom, which is such a very pivotal topic for me. And so a year later, we immigrate to Canada. And same principles, lived there for 30 years in Canada, a life of freedom to grow, to work. My dad eventually gets a doctorate in theology, becomes a pastor, and I'm the oldest of 9 children. So there's 5 kids born in Romania, 1 in a refugee camp, and 3 more in Canada. That's the start.
You got a large family. Wow. So why did your dad choose Canada over maybe the United States or maybe other places and maybe in Europe?
As an immigrant, we'll choose any place other than the place we are. So at that time, it was the place that was easier to get to, more accessible to us. And so that's why we chose Canada. We also had some acquaintances in Canada. When my dad first pulled to Toronto, he had seen the words in a vision, in a dream before, the words TORONTO. He saw that word, but didn't know what it was till he landed in Toronto, finally seen it for the first time. And so it was just very much a miraculous, God-driven journey where he just believed that God's provision and protection would be over our family. So did my mom. And that's the result of why we're here today. So my dad and mom set the core values for the family so that I could set the financial pace for our family. And so thanks to them for instilling in me great values, I've been able to build an awesome business, help people. And this is what we do now. We help people overcome all of the financial limiting beliefs and scarcities and fears and doubts and et cetera. So yeah, we're 2nd generation. We actually still work together with mom and dad. They're at our events and they spend time with our community. And it's amazing to have them continue pouring into other people.
You know, listeners are probably wondering, what was it like, or do you remember much about being in a refugee camp? Because you hear about that even in the 21st century. Now, even recently, what was it like being in a refugee camp?
Not a lot of memories, but I do remember some mild memories, being able to hang out with some of the other refugee kids. I've obviously got pictures, and there'd be a lot of us, couple families to one room. And so you'd have all these beds everywhere. You know, your family would be in that side and that family would be in that side. And for the most part, it was a just a reasonable experience. It wasn't full of violence or threats really of any kind. But it was getting to the refugee camp that was the hardest part, because we'd have to cross two borders to get there. The neighboring countries would send us back. And so the couple of experiences we have, memories I should say I have, are just seem like normal childhood, hanging out with people, a lot of people in one room. And I did break my leg when I was there. One of the other older kids took me for a ride on his bicycle. At 4 years old, I didn't know how to sit on the bike. And so I'm on the back of this bike and I stick my foot in the tire as we're rolling down the road. The bike turns over, I turn over. That was a scary time for mom and dad. They had to rush me to the people there at the refugee camp who had to get me to the hospital. And so I did break my leg while I was there. And that was a traumatic experience. But other than that, I don't want to, it was a safe haven for us. So I don't want to say negative things about the refugee camp. It gave us a place where we could connect and we could figure out what the next challenge was. So there's just a stop along the way as far as I'm concerned.
So once you came to Canada, how was that transition? Because there's probably a language barrier coming to Canada and just you're in a different environment. No friends, what was that like? Maybe some of the challenges and maybe some of the successes when you came to Canada.
Yeah, English is my third language and Canada is my third country. And you're a kid, you're 5 years old. Yeah. We've always had this adapting mindset. And so coming to Canada was, you learn the language, you're 5 years old, you go to school with other kids who speak the language. You obviously speak a couple of other languages by that point. And what does a kid really know? Not much, other than the values that our parents have given us, the life that we have. None of the childhood seemed to be difficult. It really didn't. Because we just lived with massive faith and purpose that everything was possible. And once you overcome something huge, then it seems like everything else is just circumstantial. So I got to learn another language. So I have to meet some new kids. And so I think today there's a lot more in the kind of social anxieties and mental kind of difficulties around adversity. Back then, adversity was like we eat it for breakfast. We got to learn another language. So what? You got to move to another country. So what? Yeah, it takes faith. It takes being bold and courageous. And yes, I'm sure it's hard to some degree, but it's also fruitful. It's productive. It's a decision we've made. We weren't victims of a society that kicked us out of the country. No, we chose to leave. And so I think it's a different mindset when you're purpose, future bound thinking that every obstacle just becomes just that, another overcome obstacle. And so I remember having a good childhood growing up, going to school, meeting friends. I'm speaking 3 languages by the time by 7, 8 years old. I've got a couple different languages, and it's great. It's great for a child to go through some level of adversity. I think it builds character very early on.
Yeah, you just shared a number of lessons learned about just building character. The lessons learned along the way about how the importance of kind of family and kind of the values, and just what you can learn along the way about overcoming and how it can help you going forward. And just your story now going forward after high school. What were some of the, if you want to say, highlights and challenges along the way once you graduated from high school? I know you were pretty driven, I know, at a young age, and just share with the listeners about that.
I grew up wanting to be a musician. I played music all throughout school. I played in bands, and I said, I'm going to be a musician. That's going to be the thing I want to do. And so I get to university and I'm playing music, and halfway through, it's not connecting. It's not clicking. Maybe it's the program. Maybe it's the teachers. Maybe it's the path. Something there just wasn't working. I felt I was in the wrong school with the wrong environment. And so I remember one day my dad and I are having a conversation, and he says to me, I wish I would have made more money. And as I'm thinking about it, I have this just conviction. And so I said, you don't have to make more money because you made me. And so somewhere around this university period, I decided that I was going to go into small business. And I was going to leave school, start a business, create financial freedom for me, my dad, my mom, and everybody else in my circle. And then from there, be able to do music on my own terms. And so that starts the 20-year journey of getting into small business and learning how to work, learning how to do the jobs nobody else wants to do, learning how to overcome small business problems that other people use as an excuse to quit and fail. And so that became my conviction. It became the idea that I'm going to go build something. I'm going to go do something great with it, help my parents, help my family. And then I'm going to use it as a vehicle. And so during that time, over the 20 years, I've learned how to create millions of dollars. I've learned how to build an awesome business. And, you know, that kind of pastoral side that I saw in my mom and dad for the last 40 years, it just came back to me with the conviction that I need to help a lot of people. And so I started educating, coaching people, doing events, doing challenges, all kind of things to help people win in their finances. And 20 years later, basically, I'm back to creating music, I'm helping people, we're doing real estate. And so I've developed a really strong financial skill set in that time. But it was this conviction. I think the work ethic, the value system was there. I don't know if I had the same drive and work ethic when I was in university. I feel that I was probably hungry, but just unfocused. And so I think getting into small business, and I started a carpet cleaning service. And so it had to teach me how to work late nights, how to get up early, how to get after it, how to do customer service, how to do ugly jobs. I would have a contract to go clean all the restaurants and bars. And so after everyone was partying, I would go in after the fact at 2 a.m. and scrub the floors. And so that level of humility is, I think, the center to the way I think today, and really to the whole humble brand. It's that humility is a superpower. When you are willing to do things that others are not willing, you will have opportunities to develop character, understanding, and insight. Those experiences collectively will just create a really interesting set of ability. And so I think that I've just had a series of opportunities to create an ability. And now it's been 20 years. It's been an awesome life, great family. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's in my world. They're winning. And I think often about mom and dad's sacrifice to leave everyone they knew behind and bring us here. We're little kids. What difference does a 4-year-old know if he has a Romanian friend or an English friend? But the parents who grew up there and they changed their entire life, I think that it was very purposeful. And I'm grateful for the opportunity and grateful to be here when so many of my family are still there. I just had them here last week. And every time I have them here, I just think about it was worth it. It was worth it. And my next generation will have opportunities that the last generation just couldn't even understand.
Yeah, just what you shared just in the last 5 minutes, there's so many takeaways from that listeners can learn from about just their purpose and just moving forward with their life. This is just not working out for me. I'm at school and it's so share with the listeners, because listeners would be wondering about who were some people that poured into you at the beginning, like when you decided to step away from the university and kind of start your own business, the kind of business mind. Who are some like mentors or coaches that really poured into you at that time?
We were part of a church at the time, and that's our community. That's our people. And so there was a couple people in the church who were in business. Again, I didn't grow up with business people. I didn't know any of them. And we had some family that had their own self-employed little things, but they weren't real businesses. They didn't have staff, and they didn't have offices, and they didn't have technology, and they didn't have these things. And so there's a couple people in the church that just saw my ambition and would guide me, would give me advice, would help me. And so that was super helpful. I think at the end of the day, thinking about all the coaches I've had over the years, no better coach than mom and dad, because they taught me how to work. And so my mom had a restaurant, and she was working in this thing 12 hours a day and trying to grow it and trying to do the thing. And as I'm running this cleaning business, she's running the restaurant business. And I would go there after working a long day, and we'd sit down and we both compare notes on who worked harder, who had it harder, right? Who grinded tougher. And that season was important because it developed in me this conviction. I got to go do this for me and for mom. And so throughout that journey, the first 3 to 4 years, that just worked. I didn't really have a lot of guidance. I knew that I read books, and that helped me. But after about 6, 7 years, I finally started going to events and conferences. And I said, I got to go find people who have done what I want to do. It was just this need to find expertise. And so I got my first coach, paid him $10,000, and it was game changing from there. And since that moment, I spent over $450,000 in coaching and people pouring into my life. But I've had some incredible members in our church community just speak life over me over the years. And although they couldn't give me a lot of tactical help, because they just didn't know. They gave me a lot of spiritual help. And so I believe that before the tactics is the spirit. And if you can develop this in spirit, this inspirational belief that everything is doable if you just do it, that is such a powerful frame to operate with, that all the tactics just become a number of ones and zeros. All the things we want to do in life, they just become another small obstacle, a small hurdle. So the spiritual development, I think, gives perspective to the tactical development. So I failed math 2 times in high school just because I was lazy, not because I'm dumb. I was lazy. I didn't do the work. But as soon as you put a dollar sign in front of the math, it's like I just become a genius. I like it. I enjoy it. It's something useful. It's practical. And so practicality. And so I think as a coaching people today, I value so much the people that are poured into my life. And what I will say about coaching is it's never just one-sided. It's financial, it's relational, it's mindset. Being a role model, I think, is incredible. I've heard it said that first you're motivated. So that's the motivational side. And that's like, why am I doing this today? And then you live with such deep conviction, you become inspirational. And it's an in spirit. I'm doing it because it's good, not because it feels good. Eventually, when you do that long enough, it becomes aspirational. And so you see people that do incredible things because they live with such deep convictions. And so they don't have to have a motive today. They don't need somebody to wake them up to do it. They just do it. And I think when you're in that realm, you just develop this just incredible work ethic and purpose. And it's what else would I do with my time? And so that's the reality today. From playing music and just being a high school kid to just my schedule is packed on purpose with all kinds of purpose-driven things. We're either raising money for charities, we're building a business, we're helping people. It's packed, jam-packed. That is what it is. And it's not a victimhood, it's a pleasure. We get to do this. You get one life. We get to build incredible things. We get to help people. We get to create financial freedom for our family. So I'm living in the this and this category. It's not this or this. You get to have it all. If you've got Jesus at the center, if you've got convictions, and if you just use the gifts God has given you, man, it can be incredible. It can be incredible. So I think start with the spiritual and then get the logistical. And so we've got my Father and the Heavenly Father. If you start with that, it's the best coach you can get.
Amen, brother. Now, I know some are still wondering about, and I've asked this on a number of my podcasts, that those that are coaches, why would someone want to seek out a coach?
At some point, you encounter the same problem over and over again, like I did. You have to reconcile your thoughts. And you have to say, I either just don't know what to do, or I'm too stubborn to do it, or to some degree, both. And so for me, at some point, I got stuck in my business. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't have wise counsel around me. I didn't have somebody who's done it. And this is the kind of family paradox. Your family loves you. They care about you. They just don't understand. What's it? They've never done it. And if they've never done it, how can they advise you? And so we often take gossip and call it counsel, and it's not. And so it's okay to receive advice and gossip from friends and family and let them speak what they need to speak. But at the same time, unless somebody has gone to the moon, how do you expect for them to help you get to the moon? And so I realized that my own ignorance was my enemy, my own ignorance and my own arrogance. And so I've heard Erwin McManus say one time, which I really like, he said, you can either be ignorant and arrogant, or you can be ignorant and have humility about it. And so I just changed my posture. I changed my mindset. So for me, it was out of a sense of, I'm tired of fighting the same daily battle. I need a better way. So I just got to the end of my wits. I went looking. I went to a conference, literally went looking for somebody to help me. And God put a man in front of me. And this man had done exactly what I wanted to do. His name was Chris. And I said, I need help in my business. He says, let me help you. And it was game-changing, absolutely game-changing. And so I think when you are a coach, it really is a calling for those of us. Like, I spend more time with my community today than I've ever done in the past, because the more I do it, the more I feel inclined to do it. These are my people, right? These are my people that I'm entrusted with. And so why get a coach? because you value yourself and because you recognize that you're going to do it anyways. Why in the world would we waste another 5 years or 10 years? Why would you sacrifice more of your mental health, more time away from family? Money is replenishable. It really is. You increase your earning ability, you increase your mindset and awareness, you develop better strategy, and money is replenishable very quickly. Time isn't. And so the only reason somebody wouldn't get a coach, they don't yet understand and appreciate the value of their time. The DIY mindset, I just think, is a broken one. It's not a DIY, it's a DIY. It's just an arrogant posture. You could do it, but how long until you figure it out? You could go be a real estate investor like my people, but how many years are you're going to struggle? And now that I'm on the other side of this, I've purchased 300 properties. I raised $40 million for deals because I had help. And I understand things I did not understand at the beginning. So when I see people at the beginning of their journey, I see every problem. I see the roadblocks. I see the challenges. I know exactly what path they have to take because I have been in their shoes. Now, they might have a different personality type and a different mindset than I've had, but the tactical is the same. And so I think coaching is two parts. The first part is the strategy and the economics of what you're about to do. Do the economics really make sense? When you're brand new in something like business, you don't really understand the market. You don't understand the competitors. You don't understand the landscape. And so oftentimes people keep rowing their boat with one paddle and they just go in circles. They never build traction and momentum because they just don't know any different. They think that rowing with one paddle is good enough, although it's not. And there's an endless sea of time wasting that you can engage. The second part is this. It really is a personal and spiritual development. A coach needs to help you think better, more accurately. It needs to ask different questions. The quality of the question is the quality of your income. That's it. If you're asking $3 questions, that's the income you've got. If you're asking $30,000 questions, that's the income that you've got. And so it's one part thinking, one part doing. All of us struggle to do things alone, even the tough guys who are lone wolves and they can do it themselves. You are just willing to punish yourself. And so that's not a good reason to do things alone. I get that you can punish yourself. You can work harder than you have to. But at some point, we have to honor God and say, He gave me these tools, gifts, resources, and other people. Why am I working harder than I need to work? Why not just start applying better strategy? So there has to be a level of wisdom, I think. And for me, once I can do things better, Roger, I don't want to just do things hard. There's no nobility in additional struggle, is my perspective today. Just because you struggle more than me, if we're both trying to get to the end of the same race, there isn't more nobility. There's no more valor because you worked harder if we're trying to accomplish the same exact race. So I think it comes back to wisdom. I don't want to struggle unnecessarily. I want to do more in life. I need a coach. You need a coach.
I appreciate your wisdom, not only your boldness, but being truthful. Because people need to hear the truth. They just hear so much out there that someone just needs and you've heard this before about people just need to be spoken the truth and someone to speak truth into them. Maybe it's something they don't want to hear, but they need to hear. I think that's just the impact of a coach. And share with the listeners, I know I went through a kind of a life surge event, and through that you kind of break off and you have kind of trainers. You go to these, I don't know if you call it breakout sessions, but these opportunities to go to another event, a smaller event, to get trained. And I know I went through one of your events that helped me get started on my journey of looking at writing a book, podcasting, life coaching. You may maybe like a mental performance coach, you name it. It was just really helpful for me from a few years ago, and it just opened up my eyes of where I'm at and where I need to go. And just like you were talking about, just the kind of importance of coaching. Share with the listeners, I know you've written a book. It's called Communism, I believe, to do Capitalism. Give us a few highlights of the book and kind of the reason for writing this book and where the listeners can find this book.
Sure. The purpose is to understand the mindset of going from communism to capitalism. And so although it happened in real life, it also happened mentally. Going from being told what to do, how to behave, what you deserve, to creating an opportunity where you are in control. God gave us all agency. He gave you the free will to choose. And so you have to embrace that and accept that. So the book is my story. It ties in real estate. It ties in part of the kind of mindset. Now it's a few years old. I've written that book a while ago. I probably do for another one. They can grab it on Amazon or humble.ceo. But it's the idea that we have to go from the state of victimhood to the state of being a victor, a winner. Challenge what you believe. Challenge the things around you. Be willing to fight. Be willing to become rebellious to, and I don't mean violently, be willing to become rebellious to the thoughts and the things that you believe hold you back from purpose. That's it. And for me, communism is a very difficult, very ugly evil that most people just don't understand because it looks really good. The veneer is nice. The exterior is great, but the cost is very high. And so anybody outside of a communist society can never understand the struggles of the people inside of it. They only see the outward appearance of communism, which is designed to be a show. It's designed to be a really glossy surface, but the inside of it is ugly. It's broken. It's manipulative. And so that's what the book is designed to do, is to help people understand that if you feel that you are mentally in a communist state of mind, how to get out of that. And so I think it empowers people. And it, again, ties in real estate lessons and things we've done along the way. So small book, super easy read. And everybody who picks it up, I'm glad that they have a small chance to hear my story and hopefully impact themselves positively.
I think of that book that you wrote that, high school and college kids, every single one around the country need to read it and really understand it because they don't grow up in there's a few students here and there, but they don't grow up in a communist country or understand what it's like. And they think, that sounds good. I think maybe we should give it a try. Do you know any examples of communism having success in any country that it was good for the people? So I appreciate you writing that book, and hopefully a number of people can get a hold of this book and share with the listeners. I know you're a trainer, you're a coach, you've written books, but what else have you been doing? I know you talked about, if you can share with us, audience, like members, when they go to your social media platform, go to your website, what else will they find? I know talk a little bit about, I think, in the real estate industry. I know a musician too, and can you share that with the listeners?
Sure. My big focus today is helping my tribe, my people. And so we spend a lot of time not focusing on me, but focusing on them. So we've built a real estate development program for Canadians that want to start a real estate business and thrive with the real estate business. The same things I've done. And so it's not about me writing books or me being on stage. It's really me about being in the trenches with my students, helping them win. So we just had a retreat last weekend, and we had one of our guys, Rosil, who has been in our group for months and struggling to get his first real estate deal. And so I gave him a challenge at the retreat, just very kind of militant challenge, do this. He does it. Yesterday, we're in a group with 80 people in one of our calls, and he says, I finally got my deal locked in. And so he started last week, pushed the right buttons, got a deal, and this guy's going to make $10,000. And so a lot of my time is spent helping students win. I know I can win. That's fine. But I'm in a season of impact. If I can get a lot of people together, help them push, help them overcome their fears. And so many people, Roger, have fears of what I'm going to call first world problems. There isn't really a danger in making offers and buying real estate. There's no real harm. There's only a perceived fear. And so we associate that with a real fear. And so that's most of my time, hours and hours, whether I'm doing a boot camp, an in-person event, a real estate revival, which, by the way, they can get a hold of us at realestaterevival.com. A lot of time with that. We're obviously still buying real estate deals. Yes, I put out 35 songs in the last year, 2 years actually. Got another bunch that are written. And so it's music. It's helping people make money with real estate and just getting to live a great life. Doing things on my own time. The schedule is packed. It's back to back every day. But when you're living in purpose, man, you don't get tired. You don't get tired. Your spirit needs to be full. I think that for every day I have breath in my lungs, God's given me a great life. I live in a beautiful place. I've got palm trees and swimming pools and the whole thing. I don't waste a day, Roger. I don't sit by the pool for hours on end. I just don't. I don't feel the desire to. The appetite for wasting time is not there. I'm here to help people win. And so, yeah, that's what my world is all about. It's about helping people succeed. It's about pouring into them. It's about watching the growth that happens in them. And at the same time, coaching is a skill. I committed the first 10 years of my career to learning how to do real estate and develop the mastery. They say it takes about 10,000 hours. The second skill that I really want to grow is called leadership. And so I've committed 10 years of my life to leadership. And that's what brought me really to the coaching dynamic. I think with coaching, you really have to learn how to lead yourself before you lead others. And so I think it's an incredible calling. It's definitely very challenging and very hard. It's easier for you to score the touchdown than to sit on the sidelines and help other people score touchdowns. That's what I've noticed. But it's also very rewarding, isn't it? And yeah, it's a great. So my day is filled with helping students crush it. Just absolutely crush it, do undefinable things they didn't think they could do. Help them quit their jobs. So I'm on a race right now to help 100 people quit their jobs. That's it. I want to check that box, right? And to me, that is impact. It's going in the trenches and doing hard things with people, helping them overcome. That's it. And so I probably need to write more books, but frankly, I'm so busy with my students, I haven't written a book in a couple of years, right? So busy helping them win, just quietly, secretly winning. We probably need to do a better job of showing the rest of the world. But at this point, we're just working with our people.
I'm tapped into the next generation, so a lot of 16 to 25-year-olds. And what they need to do is they need to tap into this podcast and listen to your just kind of words of wisdom. I think there's going to be so many takeaways because there's so many students out there, student athletes, students at high school, college, where they're just lost. They really don't have a purpose. And they're just so overwhelmed with the social media, so overwhelmed with so many things coming at them. They're not really hearing the truth and someone speaking the truth to them, and just really to be humbled. Because sometimes you can just you don't know it and all that, you just get arrogant. You think you know the answers. Well, do you really truly know the answers? Do you have someone coaching you along? And some of them, might have a strong family, but maybe they're not pouring into them. Some of them have a broken family. But there's no reason why they can't win and win in life. So I appreciate you sharing that. So as we're wrapping this up, can you just shout out to some people that have been influential in your kind of past and present time that have really made an impact on you? I know you shared a few, your parents, and we talked about Jesus, but what are others? Those are major players right there. Who else has really had an impact on you?
I've had an awesome privilege of hanging out with some business leaders that have influenced me a lot. Coaches like Mark Evans was a great coach for me. He helped me early on in the business, understand business from a different perspective. He was awesome. One of my first coaches, Chris Rude, just a guy out of Louisiana who's a great father, great husband, really inspired me, taught me a lot how to overcome in my own world. I got the privilege of spending time with a Christian community called the Wellspring, and Pete Vargas is just an incredible man of God. And so he's poured a lot into me over the years. And I've met dozens and dozens of people in that group, including people like David Green, who own Hobby Lobby, and he's got billions of dollars. And just watching how this man speaks and moves is just very awe-inspiring. And so I've had a lot of direct and indirect coaching over the years of people that have helped me. One of my mentors, Judge Graham, sold his business for just under $60 million, and watching how he builds a business, and he coached me on how to make things work faster, along with Matt Monero, just incredible guys out of Dallas, Texas. And so it's been a good group, I would say half a dozen coaches who have really poured into me, or people that I've watched over the years, just in giving me advice. Joey Carson giving me some great advice, just whether it's been tactical or it's been more of a mindset. These guys have been amazing. And then I've got just dozens of peers, people that are doing business, people that are multimillionaires. I've got my friend Adele, incredible human, has been pouring over into my life for the last few years. I'm watching people like Joe Johnson, who builds LifeSurge, and they're incredible. Joe Johnson's just got such a leadership guidance and principle. It's been awesome to work with them and help them do what they're doing. And so these have been some of the men in the last few years that have just really shaped the way that I do things and have inspired me to think better, be smarter with my time, with my energy, with my resources. And I'm sure I'll have many more as life keeps going.
Well, as we kind of wrap this up, what are some final thoughts? That this podcast has been pursuing more, but I have a lot of men following this podcast, but also now women are beginning to follow this podcast I think from the beginning. I've been doing this for about a year now. Some final thoughts you want to leave with men as they continue on their journey?
Sure. At some point, you need to follow a man who's got greater leadership than you. But then at some point, you need to lead. And so what's not useful is doing neither of those things. It's just wasting time and waiting for things to happen. If you want God to move, then you need to move. He's given you hands, feet, and a voice. And so faith is a verb, not a noun. If you want to have faith, then walk it out. Walk by faith. Do hard things. And if you don't know where to start, be willing to be led. Find a man who lives in purpose, who has tons of energy, and is doing incredible things in business and for his family and for his community. Follow for long enough to absorb the characteristics of that man's success. You got to find somebody in your life who you can respect and you can model your life after, to the point where you get to a point where you have enough success and you have enough confidence that you start to lead your own family forward. And so either be led or lead. What you can't do is just sit in the in-between. It won't serve you long term.
And I want to thank you for your willingness to share. And where can the listeners find you and follow your story?
You can find me at the Canadian Real Estate Revival or humble.ceo. You can find me there. Happy to connect with everybody.
All right, that's a wrap with Ben Muresan. And I want to thank you for being part of Men Pursuing More podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening to Men Pursuing More podcast. Don't forget to follow us at maupincoaching.com.